Crafty Spot, and I'm here to share with you my first design team project for Country Craft Creations. And this paper is by Photoplay, and it is called Lucky Charm, and it is using these cute, adorable little gnomes here. And these ones here on the front are from the sticker sheet. My little gnomes that have been captured underneath the shadow box are wooden pieces that paint up amazing. And then it does have a shaker element that I use sequins and seed beads to go ahead and add that. And then we can take a peek at the top. So it's a decor piece with a mini album in it. And the pieces on the top are from the dollar store, and also some are from Michael's. I fussy cut 2 of the stickers on the top to make 2 of my gnomes hanging out inside. And let's stand it up first. So it does stand up. It is a decor piece, so it is hard to see. And I wanted to be able to make sure that you could access the mini album easily. So on the top piece, it actually comes off, and there are magnets in the bottom. So they do magnetize to the top. And this little piece here, that way you can still enjoy a decorative piece with a mini album. And then the mini album comes out from the top. And you can see inside the box, and the side, and then again the fun shaker elements, and then they just can all hide down inside, so you don't really see a lot of them. All right, and let's take a peek through the mini album. So it is using some of the pretty, it's kind of a lemon yellow color seam binding that I also got from Country Craft Creations for my design team project, or for my design team package rather. So we go ahead and we open up just like this. So I have a little pocket on the side. So one thing real quick, the way I designed this album, because this album is going to be hanging like this in your box. All the pages and stuff that I created for this are designed so while it's hanging, your photo mats and stuff are not going to fall out. So every page design is based on that that reasoning. That way when it's hanging upside down, nothing will fall out. So anyway, we have a nice pocket on the side here, and that will hold up to 4x6 photos. So this one's a 4x6 and this is a 3x5. Over here, the cards were so super cute, so I wanted to make sure that all my little gnomes were kind of being showcased throughout the album. So he's on the front, opens up, have room for a photo mat on the side here, as well as a photo mat at the top, and then a pocket to hold photos. And this can either be held together like this, or you can close it like this. But he needs to be in the spotlight, so he is going that way. And then we flip over here, and this was with using one of the cards that was in part of the cut apart sheet. I don't know if I still have it intact. Nope. So anyway, this opens up, so this is a wider flap. You can go ahead and add pictures. I have a belly band that I created right here, and again this will hold the 4x6 3x5 photos. And then we open up over here, so there's room to go ahead and attach photos there. And again, this flap here will keep all of your stuff tucked inside from your belly band. And then we just go ahead and repeat the pages again. So they open up just like that. And this one's going to go this way so we can see him. So for the center page I showed you in the videos, you'll see if you need to add more pages because you have more photos, you can go ahead and create some more. So I'll show you what I did. So over here I added a pocket to this one. So this flap is just this flap here. So I showed you how you can go ahead and add a pocket there if you wish to do more, have some more loose photo mats. Again, the pocket is this way, so it will not fall out of the book. And then I created an extra photo mat spread here, so you can go ahead and add photos. And I show you if you needed more space, how to add the extra little page flaps. And then on this one here is the belly band on the front, and then I used one of the cards to kind of embellish the belly band. And again, to put my little gnomes there. And then over here, this little guy with the photo mat there, and then our pocket. And then we open up to the last page. So these were two of the cards from the cut apart. So I just kept these two together. I thought they looked cute, and then I added a strip of paper to the bottom. We open up, and then we have our belly band. And then we open up again. And then our back page, again, a nice big pocket for 4x6 photos. And it's also in the directions, so that way it will not fall out when it is closed up. And then to close it, it has just the little tie here again, with using the seam binding. And then you can see nothing falls out. And I do have this bigger piece here is attached to the spine. And as you saw, I was able to open it no problem, and it lays flat. This way it can go in the box. So you can see all my pages still go the direction they need to. Just like that. And then we just tie it back up again. And I show you how to make all of this in the tutorial. And let's go back over to the box. So I used the cute pom-pom ribbon that I got, and I think it looks cute. It adds a nice little element because this right here is kind of too small to actually add any pattern paper. If you wanted to, you could cut some thin strips. However, I thought the cute little pom-pom ribbon was perfect to kind of hide where I stuck down my little shaker element here. You can see that. And then the stickers look super cute on here. I think it just adds to it even more than my captured little gnomes. And then the box. And then this just fits right back down inside, just like that. And this guy gets attached right back on, just like that. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. The tutorial will be coming out soon. And I would love to see what your ideas are to make a box. You could do, I think I'm going to do one in a baby theme, because my son is, him and his girlfriend are going to be having a baby. So I thought it would be cute if I did little baby blocks and stuff on the top. You can also theme this birthday, specific themes for holidays, Valentine's Day, obviously St. Patrick's Day, Easter. You can have all kinds of fun with these, and then they become super cute little decor pieces too. Halloween. We all know it's my favorite, but super cute. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this, and if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Hey guys, so you're about to watch the tutorial on how I made this. So follow the cutting guide that's going to be in the description box below, because I've actually designed this while I was recording videos. So I did make some adjustments to the measurements. So don't listen to me when I'm telling you certain measurements in the video itself. The cutting guide down below is going to be what you want. I did, when I was working on this part here, the box itself, I did change some measurements on that. And I can't remember if I did anything on the mini, but just follow the cutting guide down below because that should be correct. Alrighty, so go ahead and enjoy the tutorial. Alright, so we are going to get started on our To Catch a Gnome, which is a play off of To Catch a Leprechaun. So you're going to need to start off, we're going to do the shadow box front first. So you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard 8x8, and you're also going to need about 16 pieces of chipboard that is 8 by ½ an inch. So I still need to cut a couple more, so I figured I would just cut them with you. And this is to build up the shadow box portion. So let's just cut those real quick. And I'm just going to cut the last couple just so you can see how I'm cutting it. If you can cut it in your cutter, go for it. I just prefer to do it this way. because it works quicker for me. And also I have to cut so many of them, I figured that it would save on my cutting machine. And the last one. All right. So now we are going to go ahead and grab one of our 8x8s and get started. All right, I was just making sure I had my right microphone on. So we need to draw a 1-inch border around our box front. So I'm measuring 1 inch from all sides. This is all going to get covered, so don't even worry about your lines showing, because you're just going to cut it out and then cover it in paper. All right, so we have our 1-inch lines right there. And now we're going to go ahead and cut it out. I'm using a, this is a 6.5 inch trim ruler with the no grips. I like to, when I do it, I like to go all the way over so I can hold the most of this. And what I usually do is the lines on here, to make sure I'm squared off, I make sure I do like this line here, and I make sure it lines up against the bottom. And then, of course, the line that I'm cutting. So as you can see, I'm straight across the bottom. So when I trim it, technically, I should be all squared off. And I'm only cutting from here to here. And there we go. And this side. If you go past cutting your lines here, if you go past where you're supposed to, as long as you don't cut it completely off, you're going to be okay, because we're going to cover it all with paper, so it won't be too bad. And make sure you have a nice sharp craft knife if you're cutting it this way. And I'm just going in and getting right up to those corners. The little corner just doesn't want to give. All right, we should be good now. All right, so this is what we have right now. So I have just cleaning my corners up a little bit. Cool. So that's what we have there, and what you want to do now is we're going to cover this with black cardstock, or I am. You can do whatever color you want. So I'm taking a marker and I'm just going into my corners a little bit, because when you wrap it, sometimes it doesn't get the corners. and I'm just doing a little bit. This way you won't see your chipboard, and if you do it now, you won't realize when you cover it that you have some spots that aren't covered. And if that doesn't bother you, then you don't have to do it. But I'm just going in and getting the very little corners. Just like that. All right, so now we need to get, let's go with tape first. So I am going to use Scor tape. And we're going to go ahead and add tape all the way around. And I'm just going to go ahead, and this was 5/8 that I just used, and now I'm going to use 3/8. You can also glue. You don't have to use tape. Sometimes I use tape just because it's quicker. I don't have to wait for things to dry when I'm setting them down for videos. But honestly, it's whatever my mood is. All right, and we need a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock. And we're going to set this in the middle. So I'm just eyeballing it because we're going to be trimming. So if you wanted to save paper, you could measure over 1 inch if you wanted to, so you don't waste so much. And actually, maybe I will do that. So let's see. So I'm going to use those tools there that I got from Country Craft Creations. And my Scor Board. And these for my spacing. And I'm just going to go ahead and set it in there like that. And then I can trim off the rest. So now you've got some pieces left. We need to make some hinges for our box after, so it'll work. Those pieces can work for that. And then on the inside, I'm going to go ahead and measure over probably 3/4 of an inch, because we need to wrap this part. Oops. Making a weird sound. Probably need to sharpen that. All right, so now we just need to cut out the box. I'm just going to do it freehand because it's easier. And we're not going to see this portion either, so it doesn't really matter. All right, and then the other thing I like to do before I cut into my corners, I like to add tape because sometimes it's difficult once you have cut your corners with the tape. This way your tape is cutting as well as your corners. All right, and then I'm just going to go from the corner, oops, out. Just like that. I'm gonna make sure I'm separated, whoops. So you want to make sure that you're cut all the way through because you don't really want to tear it. This is going to wrap, so I'm not going to see that. All right, so start with the first one. And just like to crease the paper first. So there's that. Make sure it's flat. Oops. Sometimes I just use the bone folder to do it because when, as you know, when the paper's, when you trim the paper, it's kind of sharp and you're more apt to get paper cuts. And you don't want that. Oops. Okay. Flatten that down. I apologize, this is probably going to be a very long video. But I don't really want to shorten any of it because I feel like you should see it all. All right, so as you see, nice clean. And then the reason why we went ahead and did the little black on the corners is because I know, well, you can't see it now because we did do the black, but had I not put the black on, the little spots you would have seen the chipboard showing through. So we don't want that. All right, so now what you're going to need to work on is these pieces here. So for these pieces, we're going to start off with 4. And we're going to glue them together. So this is just to build up our walls for our shadow box. So these, again, are 8 by 1/2 inch. And they're 8 because that's the width of this that we're working with. And here we go. Now we're going to take these 2 and we're going to go 1 on each side. And right here, make sure that you are end to end and you're all the way to the side. And again, I'm going to the outside. I tried this with just using 2 layers, but it wasn't deep enough for me. So we're going to go with 4. And if you don't, I'm undecided yet if I'm going to, you'll know because you'll see it in the beginning, but I'm undecided if I'm going to put an acetate cover on the front to make it like a shaker element with my little gnomes caught in there, which I'm kind of leaning towards. So we need to build up the sides for that. So now you're going to take 2 more pieces and you're going to go ahead, set them right in here and make a pencil mark right there. And that's where I need to trim it. And then I'll take the second one and trim it down. And then test it first. And if it fits good, go ahead and glue those 2 together. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. And turn it around. Make sure you're squared off. It looks good. Now, if you're going to be doing the shaker part, you do want to make sure that your pieces are somewhat tight together, because depending on what shaker elements you put in here, you don't want them to fall through. And I will show you what you can do if you're not sure. Like if you're using like some glitter, the glitter will, the static will stick to the acetate. But I will show you what you can do. All right, so you have those on here. So now we're going to grab 4 more. So what I'm going to do here is, because this is the short piece and then these 2 here, I'm now going to take my longer piece and put it over the top here, because it'll add some more support to the shorter pieces there. So I'm just going to go opposites on it. And that's just so it's more sturdy. And put it right there. Again, make sure you're staying squared off. So like you can see, oops, right here, we're all lined up still. And this I prefer to glue just because you have a little bit of play time to maneuver it where you need to, just in case it's not lined up. Where tape, you'd have to use undo, or once you stick it, you're stuck. And I am using art glitter glue. And just feel with your fingers too. You can feel if it's not lined up or not. And then now we're going to do our sides. If your chipboard has any kind of pieces sticking up, go ahead and, oops, just get them off, because you don't want, you want it to be as flat as possible. Oh, I forgot to cut this one. side again. We're good. And then just one more side. We are almost done with our shadow box. Can't wait to see what this looks like. All right. Now, if you're unsure about making the shadow box with the chipboard, you can always go to the craft store and use popsicle sticks. They might be easier to break for you. It's just a suggestion to build it up. Popsicle sticks would work great too. All right. So here we go. We have our front. Looks good. You can see it's nice and thick. And then when we use our back piece, right there, you can see our depth that we have. And you don't really have to bother covering the chipboard inside because you're really not even going to see it. If it bothers you, you can go ahead and do it. You can even paint it if you wanted to paint it a little bit. So now if you're worried about, depending on what shaker elements you're going to use, what you want to do is go ahead and put some glue in if you want. If you have areas where you think the shaker elements might fall in, I'm just kind of doing the corners a little bit because that's where we have our two different sizes. So you can just go in wherever, if you even have to go through the other parts too. Just add some glue, and then when the glue dries, it'll act like a barrier, so you won't have to worry about stuff falling through. All right, so we need to cover this with some chipboard. However, I need to decide what I want for my background. So let me figure that out, and I will show you. All right, so before I pick out my paper, I need to paint my little gnomes. And to do that, I'm just using 3 different shades of orange. I did kind of mix one up with some little some white paint because it wasn't quite orange enough. And then a little flesh color for their noses. And then I'm using 3 different greens. And these are just regular craft paint. So I'm not going to paint all of it with you. I'm just going to do a little to show you. But these little wood pieces here take, when I use the darker one, they take the craft paint very nice. And you can get as fancy or as simple as you want. And the nice part about this is you can paint them to match your paper. So if you're using different paper or you want to use your gnomes for something completely different, you can paint them to match. And I think we're just going to make the whole thing green. See how cute that is? So anyway, I'm going to finish painting these, and I will be back when I'm done painting them because you don't need to sit here watching me paint. I'll probably do a couple layers so I don't have any, as the paint is soaking into the wood, it'll be a little textured. So I'm probably going to put a couple coats on that. But anyway, once they're painted, I will be back and show you. So now I have my little guys all painted up, and I used 3 different oranges and 3 different greens because I wanted them to have their own unique little character. And that's not coming out the green it is because it's like a pine green, so, but it's showing a different color. but it's a pine green. Anyway, these guys are all painted up. So now I can choose my paper because I was having a hard time choosing my background paper because I didn't know what color I was going to make them. So I will do that now. All right, so I decided to go with this piece here because I thought that for my little guys, it would look the best. So what you need to do is cut a piece 8 by 8 because we are going to be covering our back piece now. So voila, it's already done. So you can go ahead and you can either glue or tape this piece down just like that. So I think I'm going to tape it real quick. And then we can finish with the shadow box. And get that done. And then I like to just put one piece through the middle just so it doesn't come up. All right, now the way I like to put down my paper so it's even is I'm just going to lift the little corners so it's easy. And this is what I like to do because I don't want to have to try to guess. I put it on exactly where I want it. I hold down and then I just go ahead underneath where I've already lifted the paper and peel it up and stick down one side. So now it's not going to move. And then I just go through and remove the tape off of everything else. And then I just stick it down. All right, so now what I'm going to do is this piece now is going to go right on here. And again, I'm going to tape this. Just like that. And make sure my tape is good and stuck down. You can also add glue. I think I'm going to add a little bit of glue on as well. Although we're going to wrap it so it's not going to really move. So we're just going to add a little bit of glue. Just like that. And I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to set it on. Now it should fit square. Make sure you test it first. As you can see, before I set it on, I did test it. And when it's where you want it to go, stick it down. And there we go. We have our front. Now we just need to wrap our corners. So to do that, I am thinking, let me think about 1 second. Okay, so I figured out how we're going to do the corners. So I went ahead and added tape all the way around. So now what you want to do is you want to snip in towards here. So I'm probably about 1/8 of an inch or so from the actual corner. So you can see I snipped it up 2. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So you're not cutting all the way through, but you're snipping just up to those corners. So if I flip it over here, you can kind of see I'm not quite attached. And what you want to do is add some glue to the corner. And take the tape off. Oops. Try not to rip it off. Oh, my tape come off. And what you're going to do is just kind of fold this piece up. So I'm pressing on the actual corner itself, like right here, just to get it up. Oops. Hopefully, make sure your tape pieces are on top like that. So now you can do it. Just press it in there, and then while I'm holding here, I'm just going to fold this part down just like that. And then because we went almost to the corner, if I just smush this down and, oops, you can't see, and smush this down like that, I have it wrapped around the corner, and then I just press it. And then what you can do is you have like these little wings sticking up. Just snip them off because this is the back side and we're not going to see it. But what you want to do is make sure your corner is wrapped. And then when you put these down, your corners will look nice. And then if you have to, just go ahead and smush down, because that's the craft word, smush. So just smush them down to make sure they're flat. If you have to snip a little off on the back side, because this is going to be attached to our box, so we're not even going to see it. And then you can go ahead and get that broken down. And then just flatten that out. So now your corners kind of look like they're wrapped. And if you have to, you can go in and smush them down more. But I'll do that once I can get it set flat. So we'll do it again. So we're going into our corner. So to about here. Remember, we're not cutting all the way through. Like that. And then we're going to add glue just because there's no tape or nothing here. And the glue will hold the corner in place. So again, you can see I put glue on that corner. Make sure the little wings are up, so they're not sticking to your paper. And bring it up, pushing against that corner, and then with your other finger, you can just kind of put it down. And then now we're tucking our wings in. So now you just created a little pinch. And then this side here, just pushing it down. And then you have a wing. And chop off the wings. Like that. And smush that. So now we have this side now that can come on. And I just slowly keep bending it down to kind of walk it over. And as you can see, they're wrapped. So one more side to do. Again, going in. And I am cutting all the way up to the chipboard. So on the back side, you can see my indentation where my corner is, so you can see about where I'm going. And then glue in the corner. And again, up. Put it down. And then now I can actually set it down. So I'm just mushing it. And pinching my wings. And cut them off. And smush them down. And then we can go ahead and attach the last two sides. And there we go. So now by cutting those little wings off, you've pretty much kept it flat. So there's nothing to really keep it raised up when we attach this to the front. And then we have our little shadow box. If you have to fix any corners to make sure they're down, just go ahead and smush them down. Just smooth them out. But I think we look pretty good. So that's our shadow box front, and our little guys, our little gnomes that got caught can go right in there. And as you can see, there's plenty of room under here for them to like sneak under. So this way, when we go ahead on the front, when I add the pattern paper around here, I'll put some acetate underneath it. Then that way we'll have our window and our shaker element, and we are actually going to glue these little guys down. So probably could glue them down now, because that's pretty much how I'm going to put them, and they're going to need to dry. So let's glue these little guys in. It's going to be so cute. They're going to be trapped in their box. And there we go. So we're just going to let these little guys dry now, and we will work on getting our box made. So we're going to get started on our box. So you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard, 8.5 by 8.5. You're going to need 3 pieces that are 3.5 by 8.5. And you're going to need 2 pieces that are 3 3/4 by 8.5. So you're going to need those. All right. So we are going to start off with 2 of the 8.5 by 8.5 and 2 of the 3.5 by 8.5. So we're going to start assembling our box. We're going to put the pieces together alternating like this. And they should all line up. And then you're going to need some paper hinges. So I cut my hinges at 8.5 by 1.5 and scored at the middle at 3/4. And then I added tape all the way around. So what we are going to do is attach our pieces. So let's start with the first 2. So what I'm going to do is kind of angle these a little bit. And that's just because I don't want to add bulk to our sides and stuff. So this is what I have right now. And I'm going to go ahead and take off one side. And I'm going to place it underneath. So what I'm doing is I'm making sure this corner and this corner are lining up to both of my points here and here. Real simple. And I'm also using my score line as a guide. And once that's good, I can press that down. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the next piece and I'm going to butt it right up against my chipboard, and I'm going to stick it down. Make sure that you are lined up top to bottom. You want to make sure you're actually even, because that's how your box is going to be even itself. So I'm going to go ahead, make sure I'm in. Have that. So then when you fold it, you have it, it's going to be nice and squared off. So now I'm going to go ahead and just keep going down the line. So I have my big piece, my little piece. Now I need another big piece. So again, trimming these down, just like that. And I'm going to attach. Just like that. And now I need a big piece. Test it out first. Make sure you're going to sit in there where you need to. And then our next small piece. Same thing again. I did use 5/8" score tape for this. Okay. And now everything will fold up just like that. So now I want to go ahead and add my piece right there. Oops. And this piece. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and attach these two just like that. So this way I can get my box nice and even. So to do that, what I'm going to do is when I stick it down, I'm going to be pushing on, my fingers are going to be on this back side here. So let's go ahead, I'll show you. So I'm going to take that off, just hold that down. And because nothing's attached yet, you can maneuver this because everything's very flexible. And I am going to go ahead and line this up. Wonder, can I do it? Oh, actually, yeah, I can just do it this way. Yep, we can do it that way. Perfect, even better. So I have this piece now, so let's go back. So I have this. I'm going to tuck this down and fold this over, making sure I'm all squared up. I can feel it with my finger, and push that down. So now you just pop it open, and you should have your squared off box. So now I'm going to take my other last 3.5 by 5, and I'm going to go ahead and line it up like that. Why do I have... I might have to adjust these pieces. They may not be 3 3/4. Because why is my sample 3 3/4? Let's see. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I got to put the bottom on first anyway. So I'm going to take this, and what I'm going to do is place this on top. Looking to see if I'm squared up. Just getting a feel for it. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach that there. So to do that, I need to cut some more pieces of my binding strips. All right, so now we need our other 3.5 by 8.5, and I got some binding strips, and I have 2 at 8.5 by 1.5 and 2 at 3.5 by 1.5. So I'm going to go ahead again and snip off all my corners. And then we'll get the bottom attached. Okay, and now we're going to stick these on here, just like we did the original sides. Just like that. We're going to do all 4 sides. Okay. That down. And then what we're going to do is this needs to go inside here. So if you tuck them all in, kind of like this, and then you just set it inside the box, you will get it squared off. So to do that, and then when you hold it, you might be able to flip it. So let's go ahead and get the tape off of, let's start with one of the longer. Actually, you know what? Just take it off all of it, because we got it all tucked in anyway. So it tapes off all the pieces. Take our box, and with all of our pieces in, we're just going to try to stick it in here. Get it in there, and I'm reaching up inside because I haven't pressed anything down yet, so I'm actually pulling on the tab inside, and when I know I have one side down, kind of giving that a good stick, and then this side here now. So as I'm putting my hand in, I'm also kind of pushing up on this piece. That way I can get it squared off to the bottom. So I'm not exactly stuck yet. See, I can push on it. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing this piece and pulling it in. And I'm kind of pushing up, so you can see I'm kind of bowing to pull in the bottom. And then when I get it where I want it, I can just push it down. And then the same thing for the sides. The side's stuck. Okay. As long as you don't give it a good push, you should be able to pull it in. So you want to make sure you're even. There. And then the last one, which actually that one just kind of evened itself out. And then you can see inside. So not only did we attach our box, we already went ahead and added our stuff to the inside of the box, which a lot of times I always find difficult trying to get that in after you've assembled your box. So this way it's done first, and then you can just go ahead and add more strips around these sides to square them off more. And then just go ahead and make sure, give everything a good push down to make sure the tape is all adhered. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut strips for the sides, and we're also going to run a bead of glue down before we put our finishing hinges on it. Just that way it makes it a little more sturdy, because the tape is kind of forgiven where the glue will stiffen it up a little more. Alright, and I'm thinking that I need to trim this down. So at least one of them, we're going to switch it over to my side pieces. I need 4 of them. And then the 8 3/4 right now, maybe 1. I'm thinking I went a little wider because of the album cover. That I wanted it to overhang a tad. But we'll see. I might change that too. But so far now, we're going to make our 3.5 by 8. We're going to go with 4 of those instead. So we're only doing, at the moment, 1. But that could change. So let me go ahead and work on... Do I want to do this one first? I gotta trim it down still, but no, we're gonna do this after. So we're gonna go ahead and finish up our sides and get this nice and sturdy. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and put our finishing hinges on our box. So let's start off with the bottom. So I pre-cut all of my pieces, so they should fit on the box. And you know what I want to do is, just in case, I want to, just like we did on the other, just add the black to the corners, maybe. Just in case. So let me do that up. Alright, so I actually went ahead and used a little black paint in the corners because my Sharpie is not as wet as it used to be, because it's kind of fading off. So I did some paint. So now we're going to go ahead and add these, and what I want to do is add a bead strip of glue right into that corner, or right into where the chipboards meet. Because when my box dries, I want to make sure that it is going to be very solid. So, making sure I'm lined up good. Stick one side down, and then the other side, and then just kind of making sure we're solid there. And then the other side. So when I do it, I like to make sure I'm kind of like uniform. So I'll do the smaller sides and then the bigger sides, so I have the same overlapping everywhere. So And I'm just feeling with my finger first, and then I'll stick it down. Okay. And then we're going to go over to the sides. Follow that right down. And same thing. And I'm just folding it down, making sure. Yeah, see, you're definitely going to want to add paint or Sharpie to that, because my corners are showing a little. But once we add all of the pattern paper and stuff to it, you're not even really going to see them. And the glue also helps is if your tape is not stuck very well. The glue will keep it there. And now I'll move on to the sides. And again, the glue will help keep its shape so it doesn't warp once it dries either. So you can see just a tad little bit in the corner, not even that much. It's not even very noticeable. Once you add your pattern paper over it, you're not even really going to see it. And this box has come along a lot quicker than my shadow box front. At the moment, till we cut the top of the box. Because I'm only 20 minutes in and we're almost done with the box. And our album too that we're making for this is not going to be very heavy, so you don't really have to worry too much about it. And then the last one. Alrighty. Oops. Cool. So now once that all dries up, it should be nice and sturdy. I do have a little corner, so if you see any of your cardstock hanging over, just trim that up because we want the top part to fit nice. So now if you wanted to go ahead and add pattern paper inside the box, now would be the time to do it before we put the cover on it, and you could just go ahead and cut those out. So I'm going to adjust my top piece and we'll get that started. Okay, so I had some scrap green paper laying around, so I just went ahead and stuck it inside my box just because you won't really see it, but I just wanted to give it a finished look. So I just had some scrap green paper and I just went ahead and stuck it in there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to work on the top of our box, and we are doing this pretty much the same way we did our shadow box front. So let me turn it over this way. I'll use a pen. So we need to draw a 1/2 inch border all the way around, and then we're going to cut that out. This one you will have to be a little more careful when you're cutting it out, and that's because you only have a 1/2 inch border, so you don't want your craft knife to slip. So you do need to be careful with this piece. So we have that, and we can go ahead and cut it out. So again, just like before, I am making sure I am all lined up. So with this piece here, what I'm going to do is I'm taking and making sure that, remember how I said I follow the black lines to make sure I'm squared off? On this piece, I'm going to make sure I'm squared off using the bottom and this side, just so I get a good squared off corner. So I'm going to follow it the best I can. And I'm not exactly lined all the way up to this black line here, but I'm using my other grid lines here just to watch it, make sure. So cut that out. Okay, I think it went through. This piece, obviously, I can only make sure that the bottom is squared off. And we're also going to wrap this one the same way that we wrapped the front of the cover. I mean, the front of the shadow box one. And if you get worried about possibly cutting too far, you can stop a little short and then just kind of trim it up after. You also want to make sure you're using a really sharp craft knife, because you're actually less likely to make mistakes on it if your knife is nice and sharp. And then because I've already kind of got like a little cutout going here, my knife will just follow in it. And my knife is also not very sharp. As you can see, it's chewing up the paper. Or chewing up the cardstock rather, not the paper. Yeah, we're almost done. Oops. Now, if you feel like this piece is too thin, because this is going to bear the weight of the album, we can add some more chipboard to it to sturdy it up if need be. Let's see if I can. All right, so then basically what we're going to do once we wrap it, it's going to sit right on top here. And do I want trying to decide if we want to thicken it up a little bit. I think I'm going to go with just what it is. So now I need to add some tape to this. And then we're going to stick it down to some cardstock. And I do see, so you can see where some of my chipboard didn't come out nice. It's where I flatten it down. Let's trim that up. Again, just because you don't want the bulk there. All right. So now, all right, so now we need a piece of cardstock. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and use a spacers. These are so fun. And then we're just going to stick it down like that. Okay, and make sure we're all tight. There we go. Damn good. Now we can trim it up. So just going to continue with the 1 inch. And again right here. Okay, and then on the inside, I need my pencil. So for the inside here, we are going to also cut it at a 1/2 inch, and then we won't have to worry about it because this is a 1/2 inch if our paper is a 1/2 inch, because you have your height from the chipboard coming up, so it won't be it won't overhang on the other side. And then I'm just going to freehand cut it. And I'm cutting out the center box. we're wrapping, so it's not going to matter. And then I'm going to add my tape first. And then I'm going to cut my corners. So I'm going from the corner of the chipboard to the corner of the cardstock. And again, before we go ahead and do that, I'm going to use a marker real quick. Just in case. And then I'm just going to make sure that I am cut all the way to the corners because I don't want my paper to tear. You can stick this down. Just like that. Make sure you're pressing on tight on this side over here, on the inside part of it, because you want a nice tight fit there. And then we just have our corners. That one. And then just make sure everything is burnished down nice and flat. I'm just kind of creasing just for the moment. And then what we're going to be doing is setting this on here and then wrapping it on. So, let's see. All right, so for this part here, I am going to angle the corners a little bit. So I actually am going to just trim them this way. This is a trimmer I got from Colorway Arts, so I could just snip them off, but kind of perfectionist. And she came out with a nice longer metal one, so you can really, oops, where that falls. So now I can press these down. Careful because your sides are very thin. All right, so I can go ahead and add tape to that. Get rid of these pieces so they're not distracting. could have added the tape before I cut those corners off. That's okay. And I'm concentrating my tape more closer to the chipboard here, because this part here is going to be hanging down off the sides, where I want to make sure I have a nice stick at the very top of the box. I'm also going to add the glue to it too. So trim off that. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do is stick down just one side. So I'm peeling off just one side of this, because we'll add our glue afterwards. And I still have the tape on the other three here, because that's what I'm going to use to kind of guide where I need to go. And then I can stick the one side down. So I'm just feeling with my fingers, making sure the sides are lined up. So when I know I'm good there, I can stick that down. And you know you're good if you have the even spacing, like right there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove my tape and add my glue. So and it's easier to add the glue to the top piece than it is to the top box part. Okay. And once you know you're good there, you can just kind of fold it down. So I'm going to do this side first. So just like wrapping an album cover, I'm going to just kind of smush these little corners down. So you can see I just kind of smushed them in a little bit. You can even do it this way and just fold those in. And then just stick that down. I'll show you this way. So I'm taking the corners and just kind of bringing them in a little. And there we go. And just make sure you crease everything down, burnish it down good so it does all stay nice and flat. And we look good for that part. And then our little gnome guys are going to sit right on top right here. So we're going to put them on just like that. All right, so let's work on the top next. All right, so now we're going to work on our album. I'm going to get that going. So for your album, you need two pieces that are going to be 2 by 7 and two pieces that are going to be 7 by 7. I've already wrapped one of them, so I'm going to work on the other one with you. So I went ahead and added score tape to the entire back side, and I'm going to get my Scor board and piece of paper. And I love the way that Tamara wraps her albums now, and I'm just going to continue with that because I think it gives it such a clean look. So I will link down below to hers but I just love how it looks now. I think it's very clean. So it's my new favorite way of wrapping album covers. So go ahead, make sure my paper is all the way, my spacers are good. Look how easy that was. Super easy. Make sure I'm all stuck. Now I'm going to trim off the excess. I'm measuring, I'm keeping it 1 inch around. So and then this side. Whoops. And then I'm going to add tape around my border. So the weather is like where you are. I am in Connecticut and we have snow today. And I am so happy that I am off of work because I hate driving in snow. I don't think we're supposed to get that much. I think it's only like 4 inches. But I don't even have to worry about it because I'm not even going anywhere. So just playing with paper today. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my corners off again. I'm using this little metal piece here from Colorway Arts. Again, like I said, I'm a perfectionist on my corners. I could just chop it with scissors, but I will lose my mind if it's not even. So just using that. All right, and then just fold up my sides. And then put one side down. And I just walk it over with my finger till I get it even. And then go all the way to the opposite side. And then my little corners in here, I'm going to just push them in like that. And then this last side. So it's going to be a tiny little mini album or folio. I haven't decided how I'm going to decorate the inside pages yet. So we'll figure that out when we get that far. Make sure it's all nice and pressed down. So now we have these two here. Those are done. Now we got to work on our spine. So I didn't add tape to that. This is almost the same way. Is it 2 inches? I'm 2 1/8. How did I get an 1/8 on there? Let me fix that. Okay, much better. I was going to say, how am my piece is 2 inches, and my tape is 2 inches, why do I have so much space showing? Alright, so we are going to do this one the same way. Well, I think I'm going to use a wider spacer, so I'm using, this one is 1.5 inches. So that will work good. And I just need to find paper. So for this one, we are going to go 1.5 inches on the side and an 1 inch wrap on the top. And stick this one down. Just like that. Those tools make it perfect. Ignore this. These are not right measurements. This is actually 2 by 7. All right, and let's trim this up. So for the bottom, cutting off 1 inch. And then the side, we're doing 1.5 inches. And let's give everything a little bit of fold. All right, so we are going to fold down the top and the bottom. And for this, I think I want to make sure I have full tape coverage there, so I'm going to go right up on the edge of that one. All right, so what we're going to do is we are just going to fold this over and press these down. All right, so once you get it good and creased, go ahead and stick it down there. Before I do the sides, I'm going to go ahead and push in here and then out. Same thing again, push in and out. And I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. Go in here, making sure this is nice. And then into the corner and out. And smush it in and out. So now we can go ahead and work those pieces in. So what you want to do is go ahead and get it folded over. Let's do this side. Use my finger first to get it in there, and then I can go ahead with the bone folder to get it to do what it needs to do. So then here, I'm going to go ahead and push in like that, because we need to stick our covers on here. But you want the paper, basically you're wanting it to go on this inside here of the chipboard, like this edge. You want it to kind of go here and then out. All right, so once you have those done, we're going to add some tape, and then we need to trim. So I'm going to go almost all the way up. I'm probably about 1/8 of an inch on here. I'm probably like about 1/8 of an inch from going all the way over. Just because I don't want, oh, excuse me. I just don't want tape to show. Like that. And then I'm going to take my 2 album covers, and I'm going to add some tape right on the edge of these ones. These are square, so it doesn't matter which end you're adding tape to. All right, and then now you want to take this part here, and we need to trim it. So we're going to go from not quite the spine part, or not right all the way up to the cardstock. We're going to go a little bit away. So probably about 1/8 of an inch away, just like we did our tape. So do that on all 4 sides. So you have that. Now keep in mind when you do put these on like this, when you do it over this way, your tape is going to be showing a little bit, but we'll just clean that up afterwards. So go ahead and do a test run on it first, making sure it looks good. And then make sure you're lined up. If you're worried that you're not going to be lined up, you can just stick it in your scoreboard and do that. So like I said, I have some tape showing, so I didn't press the corners down a lot. So I can lift that up. There we go. And the same thing for this side. I'm going to go ahead, making sure I'm lined up like that. And again, lining it all up. And then I'm just going to trim off the tape. Just like that. And then your book, as you can see, folds up nice, just like that. All right, so now we need to go ahead and wrap our cover. Let me just make sure. So 3.5 by 8.5. So I went ahead and figured it out. You're going to need the 5 pieces at 3.5 by 8.5, and we're not even using the wrong measurement that I won't say, but the 3 3/4 by 8, we're not even using that. I don't know what I was doing there. So anyway, now we need to wrap this piece same way we wrapped all the others. And will my get another piece? So this is the top part of our book. So let's go ahead and add tape to all of that. I'm sorry, the top part to our box. So this piece here is this piece here, okay? So full tape coverage, and it's also the other piece to our spine of our book. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and set this on here. Get our little spacers. I just want to see something. Should be good there. All right, so again, making sure we're nice and squared off. Use that. And I'm going to trim this part up. Okay. Keep all your scraps because we will need them for making our book, our pages and stuff, so we'll be able to use those for pockets and such. Alrighty, now let's trim up our corners again. And one more. Okay. Get those creased. So we're going to do the long sides first. Yep. Okay. And then we're going to tuck these in. And then make sure nothing is sticking up. And get those smushed down. All right, so this is what we have now. Let's get our box. This is the cover here. Basically what we're going to do now is we're going to be attaching our book to here. And then we'll have tie closures, and then the whole thing will just set down inside. However, I do want to add some pattern paper to this piece before I stick my book on. Like that. Because I do have a lot of black showing. And then when we're actually looking at our book, we will see that. So I'm going to figure out what pattern paper is going to go on. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to use this one because it's already cut. And actually, my scrap piece is the perfect height, so I just need to trim that up. Okay, so I went ahead and cut out my piece. I actually used the longer piece because I wanted it almost full coverage. I wanted very little black border on it. So what you want to do for this particular piece here is, because your album is going to be hanging from here, so basically when it's in the box, your album's going to be attached to this and hanging down. So you want to make sure you have full tape coverage, because if not, your inside of your paper is going to be pulled on from the album hanging. And if we end up making it really heavy, you want to make sure it's attached good. So for this piece here, again, like how I had put my other piece down, this is how I like to stick my pieces down and make sure they're even. So I just lift up the corner of a little piece. So I did smaller strips across here. I could have used the 2-inch, but it's harder to pull the 2-inch off from the back when you do that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to make sure I am lined up perfectly even, that I like. Hold this side down, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape, making sure I didn't move, and stick that one end down like that. So then I can just go ahead and pull the rest of the tape off. So I'm going to pull the rest of the tape off, but I'm not going to stick it. I want to add some glue because I just want to add a little more support to that piece. So, and when I take my tape off, I'm careful not to bend up my pattern paper too much because I don't want to put a crease in it by doing this. So all right, and then I'm going to take my glue. I'm going to concentrate on the center area because that's where it's going to hold the cover. And of course, right on cue, my glue does not like to play nice. All right, we will go with little blobs. And then this way, it will hold my book down. Okay, and then I just walk it over from the edge, or from the side that's stuck over to the edge. We have that. All right, so now I think we're going to go ahead and do the top with pattern paper, or should we stick the book down and do the top after? I think actually we're going to put cover paper on here, I think, first. Right. Because it'll be easier. We could do it this way. But we'll just have to do it before we decorate the book. And then this piece will be down. All right, we'll attach the album cover first. All right, so what we need to do is we need to put this in the middle. So in here, if we are, my middle's there. Let's get a pencil, and we're just going to make some marks. Kind of that way we can follow it. So putting a little mark there. And we'll have to erase that afterwards because it is going to show. So I'm finding my center, which is 1 3/4. Yep, 1 3/4. So from the 0, it's 1 3/4 this way and 1 3/4 that way. So we'll mark. And then I want to find, so obviously my spine is 1 inch, so it's going to be 1 inch from each side. And again, a little mark. So what I'm going to do is when I do set this down here, I am lining it up so I can see my pencil mark here and on here and here and here. So when I center it, so it's centered, it's going to go here. But I also need to center it from top to bottom. So I am 7 inches there, and I am 8.5 here. So the easiest way for me to do it is, so here's my 0, and then we're 4 1/4 on each side here for centering. And this piece here is going to go this way. So my book is 7, so it should be 3.5. So 3.5 right there and there. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little pencil mark right there. So my book's got to come here. No, that's not right. Hold on. Something's wrong. We're 4 1/4, 4 1/4, 7, so 3 1/2. Oh, it wasn't at 3 1/2, that's why. Let's erase this one. And so there we go. Now we're even. Let me erase this other line. So when we line it up, so let me make my little mark. All right, so let me show you what I did. So here is my center mark here, and I have my one down here, and then I have my line across. So I put another pencil mark here because my book actually has to be on this line, so my little center mark's here, and then I have my little center marks on my book right there and there. So when I set it down, I'm going to make sure that I'm all the way down to the line, and then I'm using my pencil marks to make sure I'm even there and there. So, and then I can stick it down. And it should be just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add tape and glue again. This one I will, I'm just going to use the 2-inch. Like that. And then this, I want to make sure it's good and stuck. And I'm going to bring this piece back. I'm definitely adding glue to this. Because we really need to make sure this is going to hold. All right, that's good there. Right. So again, now we're paying attention to where our center spots are and how far down we have to come. So I'm lining up the bottom with the center and the bottom. And I look like I'm good. Let's stick that down. And you're definitely going to have to make sure this is dry. But before it dries too much, let's test it out. And perfect. Our book fits in perfectly in there. So I'm going to let that dry good, and then we'll be back and keep working on it. Oops. So I'm just going to keep pressing it down, and I'm also going to use a pen eraser and erase my little marks there. That wraps up part 1. So I'm going to go ahead, stop this video now because we're already at the 2-hour mark and it's going to take forever to upload anyway. So that's the end of part 1, and part 2 will be following right along. You don't have to wait for the videos. So keep an eye out for part 2 coming.